Hello, welcome to Pitch Perfect. This is our first episode. I am Elaine Hammondtree.
And kia ora, I'm Melody.
Woohoo! Um, I think for our first video, we just kind of want to talk about who we are, how we got into Flesh and Blood, and then also how we met and how this channel came to be. And we'll get into like a little bit of the goals of our channel, what kind of content you can expect, what kind of things you can expect from us in the future, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully, if we have time, we'll get into some community questions too. We had like tweeted out asking you guys for questions, and we got a good bit of feedback. So if we have time, we want to answer some of those. If not, we'll get to them at a later date. So you want to start, Melody?
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm Melody, or Melody Likes. If you hang out on Twitter, that's where I spend most of my time. I am from New Zealand, so I am from the home of Flesh and Blood, where James White conjured up the idea of the game that we love. And I live in a place called Tauranga, which is a beachside sort of city, so it's beautiful here. Um, how did I get it into playing Flesh and Blood? So I started as a collector, and going to try and make a long story short. So it was lockdown, the second lockdown for us in New Zealand, and I had heard about Flesh and Blood through a couple of people from different places, and I watched unboxing videos with a content creator called Chris Sires. So got addicted. I used to stream it onto the big screen. I would make all of my flatmates sit and watch it with me, and I would get really excited at all the pulls. And from there, I went and bought a box of Monarch First Ed, and my mission was to get a cold ball. Like that's all I wanted. Um, Mon had gone to the moon at that stage, so it was really, really expensive. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy one. Let's see what happens. And I pulled Phantasmal Footsteps on my second packet. So I screamed, went crazy. I get very excited quite easily anyway. And I was hooked basically from that point. I was like, right, I love this game. I wouldn't say I love this game. I love the art. I love the art. I love the thrill of the chase. And sort of collected in the sense of I just like breaking boxes and finding the shiny ones, the shiny cards. Um, and it's only been in the last 8 weeks, couple of months. Actually, since I moved from a place called Wellington, which is our capital city, to Tauranga about 8 weeks ago, and I decided, right, you know what, I want to learn how to play the game, and that's what I've done. So I've leaned a lot on the community on Twitter, who've kind of been watching my journey learning Flesh and Blood, but leaning on them to learn how to play the game. I've had wonderful people teach me how to play on TTS, um, and that's me. That's where I'm at now. And gosh, 8 weeks ago, and now I'm here with you. So okay, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but that's me. What about you, Elaine?
8 months. That's how I feel because I've been here like 3 months, and I'm like, this has been a
Yeah.
whirlwind already. Like 3 months that I'm here. I've gone to New Jersey. I'm going to Las Vegas. Like it's absolutely insane. But that's how great the community is. That's what
It
it
is.
does to you.
Mm-hmm.
I got into Flesh and Blood when COVID first hit, like back in 2020. My boyfriend was at our local LGS, like buying games to kind of like stock up, so we had things to do because when COVID hit, it was like everyone was like, "Oh, here I am. I'm gonna be stuck in my house forever." I think so, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he like went to buy a bunch of stuff before like we knew we were gonna be locked into our houses for quarantine, and he got some magic stuff. He was a magic player, and he saw they had like Flesh and Blood decks that he had never
Flesh and Blood, what, Elaine?
Flesh and Blood decks.
Dicks?
Decks.
Okay, yes,
Well,
dicks.
now I'm like, I don't know. I probably have an accent to most of you guys.
No, you say dick, but I think when we say it, it sounds very different to you. So,
Yes, it
yes.
does. I'm from Louisiana. You talked about where you're from. I don't think I said that. I'm from Louisiana, so down here in the swamp. My Cajun accent is not that bad though. I don't think. My family.
You just, no, I didn't even know there was an accent, the
No.
Cajun. You sound
Well,
just American.
when I'm like around my family, like is I could do it, but it'd be embarrassing.
Like, can you do it?
Like my mom,
I want to hear it.
like my like. Oh, what should I say? So I can only think of like stereotypical things like Like my mom would say, like, "Oh, Misha, like, mi-" like,
Come on.
like, "Oh, this is like Misha. That's some good gumbo." Like, she talked like this, you know.
Really?
Yeah, like that's like how my like relatives talk that were raised here, super Cajun.
Wow.
I somehow did not pick up a strong Cajun accent, but when I'm around my family, it comes out really bad. So like I do have one. So when I'm talking on things like this, I feel like a little self-conscious about how
I
I'm
would
pronouncing
not
things.
know. You sound like Elaine. Like that is crazy. That's like a whole different like sounding language.
Yeah, my well, most of because in Louisiana, like people who grew up here, most of them speak Cajun French. So there's like this weird. I don't speak any
Mm.
French. My boyfriend bought two Blitz decks, one Azalea, one Dash. I'm sure some people have heard this story before, maybe on another podcast, but um, basically, I picked up the Azalea deck, he picked up the Dash deck, and we were just trying to learn, like, just in our apartment together. No one taught us how to play because we were stuck in COVID. Um, and he liked it. He came from other TCGs. I came from, like, just a board game background, just being a competitive person who loves board games. Um, so I didn't really I honestly I didn't like it. Like I knew how to play Magic and I know how to play Magic, but I was never super into Magic. So I didn't really care for this, and I think it was like with the Azalea, I could only like shoot my arrows from Arsenal, and he didn't have to do that. And it was like
No.
frustrating that he could play attacks from hand and I couldn't. And then I do something, he'd be like, "Well, that doesn't have go again." I'm like, "How do you have so much go again? I have no go again."
Because
It's
I'm
like
Dash.
he's like, "Cause I'm boosting," and I'm like, "I don't know what that means." So I did not stick with it. He stuck with it, and I saw him get into this competitive mindset and this competitive field, and like grow really strong friends in the community through the game. And that was really cool to witness. And that's kind of what made me get back into it back in I started I got back into it in like this year, end of February, beginning of March. So it's been like 3 months, a little over 3 months since I got into it. And it just like the community of Flesh and Blood, going to him like to Flesh and Blood events, like usually when I am with him around his gamer friends, I feel like Luke's girlfriend, but the Flesh and Blood community really made me feel like Elaine Hammondtree, like myself. Like they were always so nice and expressed interest in me and what I was doing and wanted to talk to me, just like aside from being only associated with him. So the community was really great, and I wanted to get into it because of that. And also, I'm a really competitive person. I enjoy competitive play, and it was really cool to watch him have like a support group and have somewhere to do that. So that made me get into it. So how did we meet, Melody?
Oh, so how I found out about you, Elaine, is I had seen tweets about this female somewhere that had been winning all these games competitively. And I was like, who is this person? Because I'm big on trying to find other wahine or women or girls in the community. And then I heard, because I listened to Arsenal Pass with Brendan and Hayden,
Yes.
and they ran a competition to win. Was it tickets to the calling, or it was
It was I was a finalist when it was, yeah, the golden ticket they were doing for New Jersey, for the Calling New Jersey,
the
or the
calling?
Pro Tour, or whichever event you were playing in New Jersey.
And I heard that you were one of the finalists in the competition. I'm like, who was this person? Who was this Elaine that plays? And then I didn't stalk you, but I kind of found you. And then I was like, oh my God, congratulations, Elaine. And, I'm so inspired by you. And you're like my spirit animal. And that's how I found you, is because I'd heard about you. And I was like, right, because there's not many of us out there that
Yeah.
are, A playing, but B playing competitively, and even talked about like Yuki. Yuki is kicking some ass. We're allowed to use ass on our.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
cool,
can
cool.
say ass. I don't care.
Okay, yeah,
I don't care. This is something we
and
didn't talk about ahead of
that's
time, but I
right.
don't care.
Cool, we're gonna do it. And so that was how I found you. Um, I don't know about your experience, but that's sort of how I met you.
So I got into Flesh and Blood Twitter world, which is, how we met. After the Calling Indianapolis, was that a call? The Calling, like, before the Calling New Jersey, which I believe was Indianapolis. Um, I was playing in like local armories and ProQuest. Just I didn't really even know what a ProQuest was. Like I started playing on a Thursday, and then that Saturday I went to a ProQuest. Like it was,
That's
I'd played
awesome.
like 2 games of CC and went to a ProQuest. And at the time, I didn't realize like the extremities of a ProQuest. It was just kind of like my boyfriend and his friends were like, "We're going to an event in Alabama this week, and do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll bring a deck." And I actually bought a box of Tales of Aria before, like, I
Oh,
30 minutes before the ProQuest started to build a deck. So I was just kind of like playing around wherever they were taking me to play at that point, and I guess getting pretty good without even knowing it, because I was like, I was like winning events, but I wasn't a part of this huge Flesh and Blood worldwide community yet, so I didn't know really um, how big this community was, what exactly the magnitude of everything I was playing in held. And then I watched the Calling Indianapolis live stream, um, and it just sparked something inside of me where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like huge, and this is so cool, and it could be so much more competitive than I even have been thinking about it as. So I joined. I was like, how do I know these people that are playing competitively? How do I get in here? And my boyfriend was like, well, you can get on Twitter, but like I'm not really on Twitter, but sure, get on Twitter if you want to get on Twitter. So I made a Twitter, and I was painting my binders at the time, which I'm
yes,
still
your
doing.
binders. So cool.
So I started tweeting about that, and then I took the day off of painting to go play in a charity. Well, actually, I went with my boyfriend and his friends to watch them play in a charity event. And then when I showed up, everyone was like, "Elaine, no, you have to play. I can't believe you're not gonna play." And I was like, I didn't even bring a deck to play. It was like a weird kind of double blitz format where you had two heroes and you had to like this is kind of a weird format, but
Okay.
it was actually really fun. So you'd put down one blitz hero, like, and you'd play, and you'd have another one off to the side. And as soon as you died, you would put on your second blitz hero, and you would
So it was
go.
like CC, but with two blitz decks.
Yeah, exactly. And the first person to
Cool.
like, so you'd start at 20 life. Once you hit zero, you'd go back to 20, and then like the first person to die on both their heroes um, lost.
That's
So, so
cool.
you had to have two blitz decks to play in this tournament, and I didn't even bring a single deck. So the guy who was running the event had some extra decks. He was like, "I have these decks. They're literally budget decks, but you can play with them if you want to participate." And I was like, "Okay, fine, whatever. I'll play since I'm here and you're offering me decks to play with." So he gave me two budget decks. One was Briar and one was Kasai, and I ended
Mm.
up winning the entire tournament with these.
Did you?
Yes, with these budget decks.
Oh
Um,
my
which
god,
is
Elaine.
which was like everyone was like, "How did I can't believe you just did that." Um, it was really cool
How
to
many
do.
people were competing?
It was probably like 8 or 10 people. It wasn't that big, but it
It
was,
doesn't matter.
yeah, it was fun.
You may as well have been playing commoner against everyone with their legendaries and their
Right, I
majestics.
had two budget
Whoa.
decks, and I won the whole thing. And I had tweeted a picture. It was like that picture of me like standing holding a mat
Yes.
in the blue dress, and I was like, "Yay! I won an event today. Cool." And you commented, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, another girl who plays Flesh and Blood." And I was like, "Hi, let's be friends. There's not that many of us out there." And ever since then, it was like, "Oh, I followed you. I see your tweets. You'd see mine." It was just like little interactions here or there. And then, yeah, I think after the Arsenal Pass thing, we started like connecting more. And so then,
And then how did we come to this
how did we
moment right
come to
here,
this moment
Elaine?
right here?
Right now.
As the amazing As, who will be helping us edit these videos, shout out to him. He's fantastic. As from Going in Gaming, made a video about like what to expect if you want to get into content creation for like around Flesh and Blood. And I watched that video, and at the time I was kind of thinking like, oh, I want to get into content creation, but I don't really know like where my place would be in that community. So I didn't comment. I guess I replied tweet to his tweet and said, oh, like this is really helpful. I've kind of been thinking about it myself. I really enjoyed watching this video. And you, Melody, you tweeted back, and you were just, of course, as you always are, the most encouraging, sweetest person ever. And you're like, oh my gosh, Elaine, if you're thinking about getting into content creation, you have to do it, because you were also had just started like releasing videos on your Melody Likes YouTube, I believe. And I was like watching those and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I might do it. We'll see. And then Hayden Dale
Hayden Dow.
from
Shout out
Arsenal
Hayden. Thank
Pass,
you.
yeah, shout out to Hayden. Commented back, tweeted back to your tweet, and was like, I would like to see both of you in a video together talking about your experience as women in Flesh and Blood. And then I think you messaged me on Twitter, and you were like, I think we have to make a video now. And I was like, I'm down to make a video now. I would love to do that. And then here we are. We met on TTS, and we started talking.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
That was like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. I remember it was like leading up to that moment, I had this thought, and I talked to my boyfriend about it, and I was like, I kind of think that this could be more than just one video. It could be like an entire channel, and like we could pioneer this movement together in the Flesh and Blood community to bring more women into the game, and like it would be so cool. And my boyfriend was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. Let's keep in mind this is a girl that you haven't even talked to. That you haven't even talked to yet, and you're planning like an entire future with her.
Yeah, an empire.
Yeah, an empire, like world domination.
Yes.
We like to joke. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know if she'd want to do it. And then we were talking on TTS, and you were like, Elaine, what do you think about making this a channel instead of one video? And I was like, Melody.
Yes.
I think we share one brain. And the more we talked, like, I think the more we realized, yeah, I think we a little bit share one brain. Our views for the community, and the views for like what kind of role each of us wanted to play in the community were exactly the
aligned.
Same. Yeah, very aligned. And here we are, the birth of Pitch Perfect Pod, first episode. Very exciting.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on, Elaine, to give a bit of an introduction about what people can expect from our channel, and also what the mission or the purpose of our channel is, because we've created some pillars. We've kind of talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but let's unpack those a little bit and give people an idea of what we're all about, what they can expect. And just remember also, before we jump into this, everyone, that, our pillars will always remain. However, our content may change, right? As we grow and develop. Like it's, like any content creator, I think we'll have our staples, but our content may change as well.
Yeah.
So do you want to set us off
with talking about the pillars first?
Yeah.
Okay. So Melody and I, when we first met, and talked about the idea for our channel, which we just wanted to create like a platform for women in this game, not only to like help introduce women who are already playing the game, but bring new women into the game, and also try and elevate some of the voices of women who are playing the game, because there are women playing this game. There's just not that many of us right now, and hopefully we can change that. So our pillars were to, let's see, we have inspire or empower. So we wanted to promote community growth by encouraging like new females to join the competitive Flesh and Blood scene, and also like empower females who are already in that community of competitive Flesh and Blood. I want to talk a little bit about exactly how we want to do this, and you might have more to say here. So Melody and I, dreaming big for Pitch Perfect, which we seem to have been doing since the very start, We want to be able to do eventually host like learn to play events for females in the community. We'll be launching a Discord, and in the Discord, we'll have like game organization as every channel does, but we also want to have like a specific designated section of that Discord for people who are looking to play Flesh and Blood, like looking to learn to play Flesh and Blood, because it can be intimidating going into Discord when you're just now trying to get some games in, trying to learn how to play, and going to that organize a game section and be like, "Hey, does anyone want to play me? I don't know how to play." Like that's really scary to do. I still don't even like
Mm.
going into those organize a game section that I've been playing for quite some time competitively. So that's one way we'd like to do it. But do you want to talk a little about like in person local outreach we hope to bring you?
Yeah. So this is future. I'm not sure how future, because I'm still learning, is like we're both still learning, right? And I, something that I would love to do, and maybe Elaine as well, is to go to local schools, girls' schools. There is an amazing LGS owner in New Zealand. His name is Steve. He owns a LGS called Sushi Night. He's very well known in the community and also, I think, worldwide. He does a lot of outreach, and he actually goes to schools in Wellington. And I'm inspired by that. And that's one thing I'd love to do, or for us to do. Sorry, I keep saying me, us to do. Something else that is already in the works is bringing together all the women and girls that play Flesh and Blood in New Zealand. So I've gone out and I put posts out all over Facebook and whatnot, and I've created a chat group. I brought everybody together, and it's fantastic. It is so amazing. Like they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know there were other women," and there's one woman that's the only female in like 150k radius of where she lives. So there's a lot of excitement and hype in that group, and basically I'm bringing them together, and then I'm going to organize a female only Flesh and Blood event for us to play. So it'll be somewhere in New Zealand, but this will be under our umbrella. So this is under our Pitch Perfect umbrella, because this is what we want to do, Elaine and I. And the idea is to, have a model for how we do that, and then we're going to cookie cut it so we
Yes.
can do it all around the world.
Yes, that okay. So, like we said, this is just dreaming big for Pitch Perfect, because we're trying to figure out ways, and we've been talking to LGSs and stuff about ways to bring more women into the community. So, even though this is the first video that we're bringing to you guys, we've been like doing a lot of brainstorming and a lot of behind the scenes work about bringing these kind of events to local communities, which I think is really awesome because Melody and I know you have some females that play in your area. I have another girl who plays in my area. Shout out to
Lindsay?
Lindsay, yes.
Lindsay, hey,
Lindsay,
Lindsay.
like finally I have another girl to play at my tournaments,
Cool.
and like my weekly armories. But still, I've been to two ProQuests this ProQuest season. I was the only female at both of them. Like, it's
Same.
just we're struggling over here. So we're the main purpose of Pitch Perfect is to hopefully bring more women into Flesh and Blood. And then our next pillar is just support. So we want to bring a lot of support to the female community for the females who are already in this community. So the main goal for this whole video channel is to be a platform where we can elevate the voices of females who are currently playing the game. And what that looks like is bringing more females on, providing like Discord space for them to meet, talk, social media platforms for females to meet and talk on. Hopefully, maybe running like online events for females to connect through, and just really being a place that can shine a spotlight on female representation in the game, because it's I can't walk it like I do go to these ProQuests, and I can't walk into a ProQuest and meet more females who play the game. Like, it's just, I'm sure it's not like that everywhere, but in my area we don't have that many females, and I want to meet more women like who play the game, more people who I can relate to more on a personal level who play the game. Like, I just want to meet more females who play the game, and I'm sure there are other females out there in the community like Melody, something we bond over.
Yes.
who want to meet each other. And it's not as easy for females to just walk into any flesh and blood event and find
Hmm.
more females. It's just something that's lacking right now. So, something we hope to be able to provide to women in the
And also,
community.
off the back of that, Elaine, what I found is, on my quest, and it is a quest, and I'm hunting down women all over New Zealand. As
I
soon as
love it.
somebody
I
messages me,
love it. I
I'm
love
getting
that.
people messaging me going, Melody, did you know about this person? I'm like, no. Can you message them and get them to message me? Okay, cool. Yep, yep, yep. What I found is that there are, I think there's about 20 plus women now, which is huge. This is across
Yeah,
our entire
that's
country, but
awesome.
there are more of us. They are hiding out. And I think part of what we're going to do is bring more of them out of where they're hiding. So, because some corridors conversations I've had is, I, only go to some events because I feel kind of out of place because there's so many men around. Which isn't to say that the men might not be doing anything, but they just
Right.
can't relate to anybody, so they don't go.
Well,
And so I'm like,
yeah, it can be intimidating to
yes,
be the only woman and like walk into a room full of men who like it that even if everyone is nice to you, which most of the time they are, flesh and blood community is
mm,
fantastic.
yes,
It's still intimidating to be the only woman in that room. It's just like is what it is, and so hopefully, yeah, we can help women build more confidence and bring them out of the woodworks because there might be women who are like who were like me who were like,
mm,
yeah, I play at home with my boyfriend, but going to competitive events is like a little intimidating and seems a little like out of my league right now. But you're not going to get anywhere without actually going to those events and like getting practice and playing and building the confidence that way. So hopefully there are more women out there who are still just like hiding at home playing the game.
oh, they are.
We're
We're
gonna
gonna
find
find
you.
them. Yes, we're gonna find you. I'm not a stalker. Okay, everyone, I'm not a stalker. I'm not a stalker.
Okay. Our last pillar is education. And this is kind of where, we have talked about a lot about obviously women because we are two women in this game, and the main purpose is to be a space where we can help women connect and grow the female community. But also with that comes like the men in the community play a large part of that. And so we want to help educate everyone in the community about um, just understanding the reasons why, like reasons that might be keeping women from competitive play, like um, what it is, what exactly does it feel like to be the only woman in a room, and maybe how everyone in the community, men and women alike, can help ease some of those like anxieties for women and make the experience more comfortable overall. Just kind of like break down any barriers that might prevent or discourage women from joining the competitive flesh and blood community, if that makes sense.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, I just went weird. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
That was
Do
fantastic.
you have
Please, as
anything to
keep that.
add? Yes, keep
Because I'm like, can you hear me? Um, yes, and I also think interaction. So I put there was some feedback that was posted last night, yesterday on Twitter, and
mm-hmm.
from an awesome lady called Shannon. She's plays in the Magic the Gathering space, but also plays a little bit in Flesh and Blood. And I retweeted it, and there's certain behaviors that I think that are happening that we can hopefully squash, which is, you know, and I think you've experienced this too, and you talked a little bit about Elena's the assumption by men that we are playing because we are there with our boyfriends,
Mm-hmm.
or that, oh, my did your boyfriend teach you how to play? No, I taught myself.
Yeah.
That, oh my god, I've never been beaten by a woman. That's because, like there's a lot of,
All right, these are all comments that I've gotten before. When
yeah,
I my boyfriend did teach me how to play, and the people
and that's
ask,
cool.
yeah, it's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that when I tell people my boyfriend taught me how to play, the follow up question is always like, oh, is that his deck? Did he also build the deck for you? Like, and that's when it's like, no, he taught me how to play. I know how to build a deck now. It's, um, but I also
Mm,
think I also am a little bit understanding most of the time to the fact that like that I think they're genuinely curious about
yes.
what brought a woman to the game and like what
Hmm.
is attracting females to the game. It's just the way it is sometimes asked feels a little demeaning.
Mm,
And
mm.
does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah.
And we are not the only ones that feel that that was a common theme. So on this post, even James White retweeted the post that I posted
Really?
up. Yes, he did. And I was like, whoa, okay. Obviously in agreement. I mean, not only James, lots of people did. And there's been a lot of conversations. And I asked, I think it was Brad, because he said his sister had experienced that. And I was like, did anybody say anything? He's like, yes, he did. And because I'm trying to understand why guys ask these questions, and part of it is they have no idea what they're saying, how it comes across, and how we feel about it. And some of the people that he spoke to, some of the guys were like, oh, okay, cool, and they were going to change their way and not do that again. But then there were some others that were like, oh no, so that was really cool to see. He
Yeah.
didn't like that kind of behavior, so he called it out. And I mean, when you call somebody out, you don't need to go be like, right, don't talk to me like that. You can pull somebody aside because they may not realize that they're doing it. Um, but that's what we want more of, and that's where I think we can come in with our platform and be like, right, this is how we feel, this is what we think is acceptable, and educate not only guys, anybody. These are the behaviors that aren't cool, and we want to see these changes in the community for us.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah,
I think that is perfectly said, and I think that also like leads into our next question, which is just like, why is a platform like this needed right now in the community? And I would answer that by saying you can, of course, interject, piggyback off of me. Wow,
yeah.
as um, but I
I
would
won't be
say
piggybacking, but yes.
yes. I would say
Yes,
it might be a
I
little
will
hard,
add.
like through Zoom, but um, it might be wait. Oh, now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, I would.
I've totally forgotten to. Yes.
Why is this needed in
Yes.
the community? And I would say that
Mm-hmm.
the community in Flesh and Blood is still really really young, which is a great thing. And I think that's the perfect time for a platform like ours to get started, because it's what it's going to help do is like set a precedent. It right now, from my experience, Flesh and Blood community is very wholesome. It's very
It
like
is.
non-toxic. I
I love it.
I love it so much. And so there's like an understanding that this platform is we're trying to work proactively to keep the community this way by being
Yes.
a platform of education and empowerment, and hopefully some inspiration there too, to keep like set a precedent so that those type of toxic behaviors don't creep into the community, and we can give people the confidence and the courage to stand up against it if it is happening, and the correct way to do that, to recognize
Yes.
these behaviors, stop these
Mm-hmm.
behaviors, and be like,
Mm-hmm.
you know let's keep the community the way it is. Let's not let it grow into this way. Um, so yeah, I think it's just about setting a precedent right now to keep the community as awesome as it currently is, and
Yes.
make it a well-known thing that those kind of behaviors are not tolerated in Flesh and Blood, and
Mm-hmm.
never will be, because we want the female scene to grow, and the only way for the female scene to grow with the game is to make sure there's a safe space and females can feel safe in the community.
Yes. And I think off the back of that, so I will piggyback off
You
you,
will piggyback off of it.
is that we're in a great space right now because there are very few. I haven't seen any sole sort of female content creators creating content for females, but we're in
Mm-hmm.
this great space where we can help drive that change, not only in Flesh and Blood, I think we're in this great space where we can also help influence change on a wider scale.
Yes.
I know those are big dreams, but we're going to dream big. Um, and I've already started talking to other females that are, you know, have quite a presence in their own gaming spaces, not flesh and blood, like this is digital, this is other games, who I think we can get on to talk about their experiences as well. And let's drive the change across the board, right?
Yeah.
And yes, it's for females, but also overall for what we expect gaming spaces to look like for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I'm getting very passionate. You can
I
see my
know,
hands are
I
going. I'm
know.
getting very
Like,
excited.
this is what happens when Melody and I get together. It's just like
Just like
constant ideas, and like
yes,
we like to, loosely, jokingly use the term world domination. We're like,
yeah, world
oh, we have
domination.
so
But
many
yeah,
things planned. Y'all don't even know
yes,
yet.
but I
Um,
think that's and then that is achievable. And I think
yeah,
we are a platform and we have a community that is coming on this journey with us, and I absolutely think that we as a community can do that, not just in our space but every space.
I say, but as of if you are watching right now and you are another female only led Flesh and Blood channel, let us know, because as far
Yes.
as I know, like, and that's another reason we made this channel, is because looking around and coming into the like looking for content in Flesh and Blood. First of all, I love the content creators in Flesh and Blood. They are fabulous. It's but there's no content that feels like it's directed towards me as a woman. And so that was also some, like, a reason we created this space, is so that other women in the game feel like there's content that's being directed towards them, because we
Yes.
we do exist here in the
We
Flesh and
do.
Blood space. We are here. We are here.
Yeah.
We're what is that? Like
We're
Doctor
like small at the moment, but we're going to be like boom.
Horton hears
Yes.
a who, right?
Horton hears a, that's Dr. Seuss,
Yeah,
right?
the
I know
Dr.
that.
Seuss,
I know that.
when
I
they're
know
like
that.
on the little speck of dust, and they're all like, "We're here, we're here." That's how I feel sometimes. All right, so I think our next and final question that we need to cover before moving on to community questions is, like, what can people expect from our content, Melody?
Oh, Elaine. Well, I think we've kind of covered it, haven't
Yeah, I
we? I
think
think,
so.
like, in talking about our pillars, we've got some in life, real life stuff that we want to do, like outreach and events,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got our Discord. But in terms of the content, it's going to be content geared around educating,
Yeah.
that education piece. It's going to be content around, you know, we're going to have our segment called Exude Confidence.
Woohoo. Logan, shout out to Logan Duplessis. I might have
Yes.
pronounced that wrong. Yeah, when we did our name giveaway, he did not. Maybe he was suggesting a name, but he kind of piggybacked off one of our comments. Someone, I believe, if I remember correctly, asked, like, "Oh, what's your favorite card art?" And Melody and I were like, one of the cards mentioned was Exude Confidence. And then he commented back and was like, "Oh, Exude Confidence would actually be like a really cool name for a segment on the show." And Melody and I agreed.
Yes. Yes,
So
we
thank
did.
you, Logan.
Yeah, thanks, Logan. So that's going to be a segment. And what are we going to have in there, Elaine?
So Exude Confidence will be a segment on the show, as we already said, and it's also going to be a part of our Discord when our Discord is ready to be published. It will be a section in the Discord where people can go and exude confidence, so to say. Say, hey, there's someone in my community, male or female, that is doing something really awesome in my small community, and I think that they should be recognized for it, because they're great. Be, whatever they may be doing, it can be, you know, congrats on being like this great competitive player. Congrats on being, um,
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Like, this person's making really cool flesh and blood art, or oh, this person is helping bring new players in the game. Hey, this person let me borrow some cards from my tournament and has done that for many people. Is anything that someone is doing in the community, we want to hear about it in our Exude Confidence section. And then we
Mm,
want to be able to bring some spotlight to these small members of the community who are just as important as people like Melody and I who are making content, because the community
mm.
would not exist and would not be an enjoyable space without everyone doing their
Dear
small
bit.
part. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
So that will be our Exude Confidence. So we'll have guests on, and we will also have guests on, like we talked about, to discuss different. I don't want to say women's issues, but talk about topical things that impact women or that we think are relevant, that are going to help people, that elevate, inspire, empower. So it's probably going to be quite a mix of different things. But
Yeah.
how often can people expect to see our content, Elaine?
Once a week.
Okay, cool. Cool. Once a week, everybody.
Once a week.
Yep, once a week. All right.
I'm like, I feel like I'm being quizzed right now.
Yeah, great. So once a week. So we just to let everybody know, we are finding our groove. You guys have no idea how many hours we've spent just doing this. How many retakes. So we're just finding our feet, and also because we've got different time zones.
Very different time
Um,
zones.
and I'm working full time. Actually, that's not. I didn't even say that. I'm working full time, and Elaine is a lady of leisure at the
A
moment.
lady.
Leisure. So we've
Elaine
swapped
does
roles.
not have a job currently.
Yeah, she's she can play Flesh and Blood all the
I
time.
can play Flesh and Blood all the time. I'll always be in the Pitch Perfect Discord. I guess that's my job, to play
Yeah,
games with all of you. No, hopefully
but
I
that's
won't be without a job
so
too much longer. But
that's
um,
yeah.
once a week is what we're hoping to get to you guys. You
Mm,
have seen how long it's taken us to get this first video out, but we're committing to it
we are.
once a week. Yeah, once
And
a week.
also we are open to any ideas that people have for content or people that they want to see. We're huge about community, right? So, and you
I say
can
the
message us, you can tweet us, you can email us even. What's our email, Elaine?
contact at pitchperfect.com, pitchperfectpod.com. Melody, I'm
Contact.
being quizzed right now. I didn't know this was a test. Let me double check.
Contact at pitchperfectpod.com, or the easiest thing to do is tweet us,
Tweet
DM
us.
us, whatever. Um, because we've had some great feedback already about what people would like to see and whatnot. So
Yeah,
please do.
the whole idea of this is to support and get the community involved and grow the community. So we want
Mm.
to hear from you guys. Any thought you may have, even if
Yeah.
you want to tell me you don't like the shirt I'm wearing, I'd like to hear. I'm only halfway joking.
Do not message saying you don't like Elaine's shirt.
Melody,
No,
Melody will
do
find
not.
you.
No, I will find you. We want to see
No.
nice things, okay? No trolling in the DMs or anything like
No.
that. Please no.
um no, but we like, even the name of this channel was picked by the community members
It
because
was.
the idea was to make this something for the community from the very start and get the community involved from the very start. So everything that all the content that we bring to you guys will be geared towards hoping getting making the community a better place for everyone, male and females alike. And male and females alike and non-binaries, I'm sorry, I cannot exclude them. um but yeah, we just want to make this a better community, so please give us any feedback you would like. And speaking of the community, we can move on to some community
Oh,
questions
that was a great
if you're
segue
ready.
into community questions.
I'm already
Love it.
getting
All
good
right,
at
let's
this.
do it. Let's do it.
All right, so Jim from Fab TCG Cards has a great question. He says, what do you both feel is the best way to grow a local, diverse, inclusive Fab community? So I feel personally the best way to do that is by doing hopefully exactly what we plan to do with this channel, um, by educating people um, on how to treat everyone equally in the game, and also for I would say for a local community, like the way I've built my local community, or I can't say I've built my local community. I take that back. The way I've tried to like build my local communities, you guys see me on Twitter. Like I have commenter decks on me at all time, and I just introduce it to everyone. I bring them with me everywhere I go. I whip them out at my family gatherings. I whip them out at my LSS.
Oh,
When I'm
yes.
in the airport, I'm like very obviously like flipping through cards, working on my deck. I've seen you do this too, Melody, in your workplace, which you can talk a little bit about. Like,
I
I'm just
can.
gonna play with
Yes.
my, I'm gonna play with my cards until someone asks me what I'm doing.
Yeah. So
I
I've
feel like my camera's blurry right now. There we go.
no, you were all clear. So yeah, I've done the same. I actually went to the community. I'm like, give me some ideas on what I can do to try to get it out at my workplace. And I just like left cards lying around on my desk. Nobody said anything because they told me the next day they didn't say anything because they were too nervous. And I'm like, I'm not scary. But I have introduced Fab to so I'm a manager and I've got a team of about 10 people, and basically had the opportunity to just talk about Flesh and Blood for 10 minutes. And everyone got really excited. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to send everybody decks and we're going to play. And they're like, yes, can you teach us to play? And I'm like, yes, I'm going to teach everybody to play. Oh my God. And they're all women apart from one. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. So
Yes.
just trying to get that in. But was that Jim's question? Was how to grow it?
How to grow a local community to be like diverse and inclusive is I believe the
Mm-hmm.
exact question, which um yeah, commoner decks just like I just play. I just am always talking about it and playing about it, which I know is probably like
Mm.
not the best advice to grow a local community. But as far as diversity and inclusivity, I try as best as I can to just be like an I hate to say an example, but I guess that's the best way to say it. It's just like an example of what an inclusive fab community, like what an example of someone who wants the fab community to be as inclusive and diverse as possible looks like. And I hope that we can answer this question like through our channel as it grows
Yeah,
and brings
I
more
think
people
so.
to the community.
Yeah.
All
Next
right.
question.
So, Michael Schroeder. I hope I'm saying everyone's names right. I'm really trying. All right, Michael Schroeder says, for those who struggle with social skills, what's one simple thing they could do to make their fab TCG experience more comfortable?
So is it asking if the person with the social skills to make their experience more comfortable, or
So,
for the person that doesn't have them to make other
so
people feel more comfortable?
for those who struggle with social skills, what's one simple thing they could do to make your fab TCG
They could
experience
do.
more comfortable? So I honestly I don't know. That's a good question. If we're talking about what is something people who don't struggle with social skills can do to make the community feel more comfortable for people who do struggle with social skills, or what people who struggle with social skills can do to make themselves feel more comfortable.
Can we cut this question out, please?
No,
Because
no,
this
no,
is
no, no,
too.
no. Because this is a good question. Because
I'm so confused.
okay, but
Because
no,
my thinking is that he's saying, I've got I'm socially, what do I say, inept, but, I don't have very good
yeah, you
social
have like
skills.
social
How do I
anxiety.
interact with you, Elaine, to make your experience better? Like, I can't speak on behalf of somebody that doesn't have those skills
Okay,
because
I believe it or not, am a very introverted person, and I have
what?
no, no, no. This is why I said believe it or not. I'm a very introverted
No.
person. I have a lot of social anxiety, like, and I have to say the Flesh and Blood community, which is part of the reason why I love it so much, is like one of the first. It pushes me so far out of my comfort zone. Like I never would have thought that I'd be making a video and posting it to the internet right now,
It's so
or even like
cool, Elaine.
tweeting, just tweeting in general. Like, and my family's probably watching this, and they're probably thinking like, yeah, like this is
Out of your
out of
comfort zone?
this is out of my comfort zone. This is out of my character, like out of not character, but like just something that I never. If you would have told me a year ago that I'd be a content creator, I would have like laughed in your face. Like I don't go to parties. Like this is like I'm a very introverted
Mm.
person. And the Flesh and Blood community is the first place where I've really felt like it it's I've never experienced something that pushes me so far out of my comfort zone but makes me feel
Wow.
so comfortable and welcome before in my entire life, and it is part of the like I feel like I strive here even though I'm completely out of my comfort zone. And I really love that about Fab. And I would say this sounds bad, but like just put yourself like you I have to take the leap because that's what I did, and it was
Mm.
really scary. And as soon as I did and just started talking to people, I never felt more welcome by any community in my entire life. And everyone like I'm about to go to Las Vegas by myself. I went to New Jersey by
You
myself.
did.
I could
Yes,
not
you did.
ever have imagined doing these things in my life. Like usually I would have had a full on panic attack, like the thought of like going I I don't even like going to the grocery store by myself. Like going to
And
New
you're going across
Jersey,
states.
yeah, going like across the country to play any event and then having the most fantastic time, like meeting people, talking to everyone I encounter. This is like the whole entire time I was there, my family was like, "Are you okay? Are you having a good time?" And I'm like, "I'm great. I just met 25 people and I actually like talked to them and loved it." Like so just
It's
the
amazing,
Flesh and Blood
Elaine.
community is so welcoming. Just it's hard to do and it's really scary, but just put yourself out there a little bit, talk to people.
Mm.
Everyone that I've ever met here is so willing to talk and help. And as someone in the Flesh and Blood community, I would say always just be mindful that everyone might not be as might not be as socially comfortable as you are, and them
Mm.
coming up to talk to you and say, hey, do you know where I'm supposed to submit my deck list, or if you're at a tournament and someone sits next to you and says like, oh, where are you from, what hero are you playing, like, if someone is trying to talk to you at a tournament and making small talk with you, talk to them. You might not realize how much of a big step that is for them, and how much courage that takes for them. So that's what I would
That
say.
was really cool. Thanks, Elaine, for sharing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He has okay, Michael asked us multiple questions, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna pick one more so you can add some
Okay.
feedback to him. Let's
Can you ask the one about our favorite hero for karaoke?
That was not from Michael, but
Oh, okay.
no,
Wrong.
no, no.
Sorry,
Okay,
Michael.
this one's from Michael and Melody. Who is your
Okay.
favorite Fab TCG artist?
You're not supposed to ask that one, Elaine. Oh, and I know he was like, you need to pick one. And I'm like, I can't. Oh, that's really hard because I love so many of them and they all. Oh.
just speak on a few of your favorites.
Okay, I'm going to speak on a few. So, Federico Mizzetti, who
Mm-hmm.
has, he is an incredible artist and he has illustrated so many of our cards, lots of our dragons, along with Steve Argyle. Like the dragons, oh my god, the dragons. We've got so many dragons. And just his style of art. You can pick a Federico piece of art from all of our cards. Like you could
Yeah.
put 100 up and you could just be like, yep, fed. Love Federico. Also a big fan of Nick Moskvin. So he's based in Russia. He's done is it Revel and Runeblood? Yes, he's done quite a few Runeblood um, illustrations. I also love Iswadi Therianto. He is in Malaysia and he did Shock Charmers. I love Shock Charmers. Shock Charmers is a beautiful card.
I love
And
Shock Charmers too. It is a beautiful
Shock
card.
Charmers and Fulminate. Like I love the color schemes in those. And Enrique Lindner, I think his name is. He's from Brazil. He did our Fabled last round. Um, and he did the main scene in Uprising, the one where everything's on fire and people are fighting on both sides. And I think a card got released with his art. So he's done quite a bit of art as well. So those are probably, and I really like Daria stuff. I like everyone. Okay, so those are my top one. Clearly, I could just name them all, but those would be my favorite.
I would say, okay, I've done Icelander cosplay. I will continue to do Icelander cosplay. That art is captivating to me. So I have to say, Steve
Steve?
Argyle. I
Yeah.
adore that. But also Eleanor
Yes.
Pitiera. I am
Potato?
sure. I am not gonna say it right, even if I try. So I apologize for that. But yeah, she has a special place in my heart. When I started like getting into Flesh and Blood, one of the first videos I watched was from Instant Speed. Shout
Mm.
out to Flake. Uh, um, he did like an interview with her, and she just
Oh.
she's kind of obviously I'm not doing card art for the game. I never will. I'm not that talented. These artists that Flesh and Blood hires are just out of this world. So talented. I would aspire to be like them, but I never will. But she just started like her art was really beautiful to me. And if you haven't watched an interview, you should go watch it. Eleanor,
Yeah, I'm going to. I didn't
yeah,
know he had her on.
yeah, he had her on, and she just talked a lot about what it is like to be an artist, like a TCG artist. And I thought that was really cool. And her art, she did like the Merciful Retribution,
Mm-hmm.
Ode to Wrath, and then the third one.
I can see it, but I don't
I
know
was
the
say
name.
I could see it, and
I can see
you know
from Monarch.
everyone who's listening knows what we're talking about. It's
Yes.
that
Mm-hmm.
iconic trio of cards for
Yes.
Prism, and I'm not a Prism player, so I feel really bad. But her interview with Flake was just so well done, and it inspired me to like start painting my binders. Which you might be like, why did that inspire you to start painting your binders? And honestly, I don't know, but it just made me dive further into looking at the art of Flesh and Blood and taking inspiration from it. So shout out to Eleanor. She is so talented, fantastic, but also Steve Argyle, I have to give a shout out to also
Mm-hmm.
because I've been so
And he did
inspired.
Viz.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your favorite. I'm
Yes.
obviously so inspired by him that I've tried to create the likeness of his art in
Mm.
tangible human form. All right. So for our next question, we have it is from Mara from Blackwing Studio.
Ah,
Also,
yay, Mara.
she is if you're ever looking for card alters. She is like her work blows me away. But she says, let's talk about women in gaming spaces, which we've been doing. But she's, how has your experience in the FAG community compared to other games, and what can we do to make the game more open and accessible to everyone? So,
I can't answer that because I've not really been in any other games. Like that when I was in Magic, that was just me and my friend, and we would play at his
right.
house. I mean, I used to go a couple of times. I went to like a board gaming group, but that's not really TCG, and they were amazing. So I have nothing to compare it to personally.
Um, I would say that before I started playing Flesh and Blood, which like I said, I played Magic, but I would never have called myself like a Magic player. I just kind of played it competitively. I mean, not competitively. Kind of played it casually when like my boyfriend and his friends or his brothers, like they needed another person for their commander game, and I was like, yeah, I know how to play. I can play. Um, but I'd been to like game shops with him and sat in the corner on my Switch while he played Magic, and I did the same when he would play Flesh and Blood before I started playing Flesh and Blood. So I was never a player in the community, so I also can't really speak on this. Um, but I will say, and what part of brought me to the Flesh and Blood community is, like I said, the Flesh and Blood community at those events. That was when I felt like Elaine, not Luke's girlfriend. It was like
Mm.
people weren't. It wasn't just like, oh, Luke brought his girlfriend today. Hey, it was just like, oh, hey, like, what are you doing? You play the game. But the purpose of this channel is to bring women into the game, like have women who have been in these separate communities and to have a platform to talk about their experience compared to Flesh and Blood. So this is something that we will get into as our channel grows, and we'll have guests on that can talk on this subject a little bit more than Melody and I can. So for the next question is from Trevor Shugo.
Trevor.
Says, okay, we might have already answered this question, but I'll read it anyway. What form of content do you believe that we're missing or could use more of in the Fab community? What direction are you focusing on with Pitch Perfect in the near future? So, before we get into this, I would like to say that you guys were nail on the head with these questions because half of them I'm like, okay, so I think we might have already talked about this before we got into community questions. So, you guys, I hope that we already answered some of these just in talking about what our mission for the channel is. But is there anything you want to add to it, Melody?
Yes, I would like to add to that, Elaine. Um, what I think is missing is content for our rainbow community.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there is an amazing person in Wellington called Kiki that is jumping on that waka, which is like a boat in Māori, and starting that journey. So I think that's missing. Um, you know, the work that Elaine and I are doing in the space for women and females and what Kiki is doing, it doesn't mean that other people can't do it, right? Like there are tons of content creators out there on YouTube and Twitch and whatever that are covering off different aspects of the game, and we're just starting. So that doesn't mean to say other people can't jump on and do what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing, maybe with a different angle. I don't know, but I think where the greatest need is for the minorities, which is
Yeah.
us, and for our rainbow community. So shout out to you, Kiki.
Yes, I would like to emphasize that because that's a really great point. Kiki is doing some really amazing stuff, and Kiki is a really amazing human. They are fantastic. I've had tons of conversation with them, and I am not a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Neither is Melody, to my knowledge.
No, no.
So we are creating content for women because that is how we identify, but we want to be able to be a platform that can still shine a spotlight to other people who are doing work for their own minority communities in the community, like Kiki. So huge shout out to Kiki. If you are not following Kiki on Twitter, please go do that. We will be trying to be a platform to elevate any voices that are working to better the community as a whole in Flesh and Blood. So, our next question, Blitz Monkey. On the topic of the title, if okay, this is a fun question. And
Okay.
I don't have an answer, so I'm going to make you go first. On the topic of the title,
Mm-hmm.
if you could karaoke with any hero
Yes.
in the game,
Yep.
which hero would it be and what song would it be?
It would be Viscerai, of
Okay.
course. Yeah. And it would be Evanescence, Bring Me to Life.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, can you elaborate why? Why this song choice?
Because I love Evanescence. I think he's like dark and broody like they are.
Mhm.
And, Arc Knight Shard. He was dead, bring me to life. But I think he would be great at singing that song, and we can sing it together. But yeah, that's who I would. Yep, 100%.
Okay.
And when we have karaoke, because hopefully you're going to go to Worlds, Elaine, and I'm going to go to Worlds and Kiki and lots of people. We're going to sing karaoke, and I'm going to sing that song.
We are doing karaoke, and also I have to rag on Flake at least once, otherwise this
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
feel right. Because Flake promised me in New Jersey that we were gonna
Yes.
do karaoke, and we never did. And guess what? In like
Oh,
4 days, I'm leaving for Las Vegas, and Flake will be in Las Vegas. I don't know if this is gonna be out by the time we're in Las Vegas, but if Flake does
let's
not
call them
care,
out.
if Flake does not karaoke with me in Las Vegas, it means war. I'm not.
He better be going to Worlds. He better be going to Worlds
Yeah.
because
See, karaoke.
we're
We're
gonna
gonna
like
karaoke
bring
it
the
up.
house down.
I don't know why my first instinct to this question is to say like Bravo and like full on Shrek style. Like I need a hero.
Not like I like baby butts
But
and I don't know why. I need a hero. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yep.
Yeah.
I think he would totally be down for
Yeah,
that as
I
well.
feel it's such a Bravo song, and like
It is. Yep.
yeah, I'd do it. I'd be totally into it. That'd be fun. I love karaoke. Our next question is from Chris from Smithville Gaming, and it is: who are people in the Flesh and Blood community that inspire you to as players, content creators, or influencers?
So for me, from a player perspective, it's actually you, Elaine. And I'm not even
Oh
joking.
my god!
I'm
What?
not even joking. Like when I heard about you, I was like, oh my God. And I told my family, and I'm like, this is cool. And she's like kicking ass. And oh my God, and I want to be like her. So that is, you are my inspiration because I'm also very competitive. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be like Elaine. I want to be able to, like for me, getting 12th out of 31 people is pretty exciting because I'm like, okay, I'm gradually like getting better and better. So you are my inspiration. Hand on heart.
Oh,
Who is yours, Elaine?
so I have to say that in like as a someone on Twitter, it was you who like kind of inspired me to get more into my Twitter. Look at it.
Because
It's
all I
like
do
a
is talk.
bonding
I'm just
moment.
like talk,
No,
talk,
you're
talk, talk.
just like
Yeah.
Melody. You're like one of the most genuine people that I think I've ever met in my life, and you just exude
Aww.
so much joy. Like I think there's not a single person on Twitter who would disagree with me, but like you are contagiously always excited about everything Flesh and Blood, and like seeing you excited about Flesh and Blood just makes me so much more excited about Flesh and Blood. And also I'm just like, wow, I would love to be like Melody in the sense that you're such a strong woman and a positive presence in the community, and I strive to also be like that. And I also have
Aww. We just had a great
I
moment,
know,
Elaine.
look at
Okay,
this.
cool. Yes.
I also have to say that as a cosplayer in the community, like before I even really started playing the game, one of the I was like, you go on YouTube and you just search on like Flesh and Blood, and my
Mm.
boyfriend was already consuming Flesh and Blood content for the past like year and a half before I even started playing. And he told me like, "Oh, you should check out Arsenal Pass." When I was like, who should I check out?" And
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I so Arsenal Pass is fantastic. Hayden and Brendan, I've met them both. They are great
Yes.
people, and they did a series with not a series, but they did an interview with Chalice, and Chalice is the one who inspired me to like get into cosplay. And
Oh.
I like messaged her on Twitter, and I was like, oh my gosh, like she followed me very she was like one of my first followers on Twitter actually, which was just like still blows my mind. And I messaged her and I was like, oh my gosh, like She probably just
You're
was
my
like,
inspiration.
whoa, this coolest girl. But I was like, you are literally like the reason that I am out here doing what I'm doing here. That like you are the person who inspired me to start posting content, posting my art, posting my cosplays. Like you are pretty much the reason that I'm decided to take this like leap in making a Twitter. And she was so sweet. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe like we had a little
She
moment."
is very
and
sweet.
and now like I just did an instant speed episode with her about cosplay, and it's just kind of like it
Living
blew,
the
yeah,
dream, eh,
exactly,
Elaine?
like blew my mind. I was like starstruck that entire time. So I have to give out a shout out to Chalice from a cosplayer perspective. Also, Flake, I know I ragged on him already in this video, and I rag on him a lot, but he is fantastic broadcaster, fantastic at what he does, and I hope in going into concrete content, I can make half of uh, our content as natural and professional as he makes his. So I have to say something nice about him since I already insulted him once this episode. But yeah, that's our episode for you today. Our pitch perfect episode.
Yeah. Oh, hey, let me wrap it up with our giveaway.
Oh yes, please.
Yes. So, we need to get to 100 subs, everybody, on YouTube so that we can claim our name. At the moment, I think we're like youtube.com XYZ 123456789. So we need to get to 100 subs. So if you could please like our channel, and once we hit 100, we're going to actually run a really cool giveaway. We'll keep it under wraps until we reach 100, but as soon as we do, we'll run it on Twitter, and it'll be a really straightforward kind of competition. It'll be like, retweet, do something else, and then you'll go on the draw to win something cool. So that's our giveaway that we will launch when we release this episode. Will we do that? When will we do it, Elaine?
The launch the giveaway
Yeah.
when we heat up. Why is there a hand on my screen all of a sudden? Has that been there?
What has been on your screen?
I don't know how long. It was like a hand, like my mouse cursor, but it looked like a Mickey Mouse glove, like on my screen. I don't know how long that's been there. Anyway, the giveaway.
Please let that be on our first episode. There's just like this gigantic hand.
Our first giveaway we will launch when we hit 100 subscribers. So, once this video goes live.
Oh my god, I totally messed it up. Oh, yes.
Once this video goes live, we will send out a tweet being like, "Hey, our first video's up. Help us get to 100 subscribers, and we would really appreciate. It's getting late my time. Appreciate if you guys could like, retweet, comment, try and bring some visibility to that so that we can reach 100 oh my gosh, 100 subscribers and bring a really
claim our name.
Yeah, claim our name. And once we hit 100 subscribers, we'll be doing a really fun giveaway that we already have all the details planned, because hopefully it won't take that long to get to 100 subscribers, but we'll see.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening in. We hope you found some of this interesting and valuable. Like we said earlier, if you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter, DM us, or you can email us on contact@pitchperfectpod.com. We are open to any suggestions, but we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us.
Yeah. This episode was just kind of introducing why we made this podcast, why we think it's important. But yeah, the next, from here on out, we'll have some really cool things coming from you guys, for as from guests to education, having different people talk about their experiences, all kinds of fun things to look forward to. So thank you guys for joining us and listening, and I can't wait to start this journey with you, Melody. It's exciting.
Yep, cool.
First video, woohoo. All right.
All right. Thank you. Ka kite, everybody.